It was a cold Friday night in late October, the kind of night when the town of Ashwood, Maine seemed swallowed by its own shadows. The streets were deserted. Old oak trees clawed at the sky, their bare branches rattling like bones in the wind. The lamps along Willow Lane flickered in and out, struggling to push back the dark. The only sound was the occasional scrape of leaves dragging across the cracked pavement inside a modest two-bedroom apartment. Jessica Moore curled beneath a heavy blanket on the couch. At 24, she was just beginning to shape a life for herself, working long hours as a paralegal at a downtown firm, saving up to move somewhere bigger, brighter, far away from Ashwood. For now, though her nights were usually quiet. A mug of hot cocoa sat cooling on the table, and the soft glow of the television played reruns of a sitcom. She wasn't really watching. The stillness was comforting, until her phone rang out. The sudden vibration against the coffee table made Jessica jump. She reached for it, frowning when she saw the name, Hannah Parker. Her best friend since high school. Jessica answered quickly, expecting small talk, maybe a story about another one of Hannah's chaotic dating experiences. Instead, what she heard froze the air in her lungs. Hannah's voice trembling. "Jess, please, I need you to come over. Right now." Jessica sat up, blanket falling to the floor. "Jessica, Hannah, slow down. What's going on?" There was a pause, followed by a shaky breath. "Hannah, I keep hearing footsteps upstairs, but I'm alone. My parents left for a wedding in Boston, and I swear someone is in the house. The sound keeps circling above my room, like someone's pacing." Jessica forced a laugh, though unease had already begun to snake its way into her chest. "Jessica Hahn, come on. That house is ancient. It creaks every time the wind blows. It's probably the pipes, or the floorboards settling." But Hannah's voice cracked, quivering through the line. "Hannah, no, it's heavy, like boots. And Jess, sometimes it stops right above my bed, like it's listening." Jessica was about to speak when a sudden blood-curdling scream tore through the speaker. Jessica bolted upright, her heart pounding. "Jessica, Hannah, talk to me. What happened?" Silence. Then the line went dead. Jessica's hands shook as she redialed, but the call went straight to voicemail. Panic surged like ice through her veins. She snatched her jacket and keys, rushing for the door. From the living room, her mother's voice called out, "Linda Moore, Jess, where are you running off to this late?" Jessica turned back, already halfway out. "Jessica, it's Hannah." She sounded terrified. "I think something's wrong. I have to check on her." Linda frowned, knitting needles pausing midair. "Linda, honey, it's dangerous out there. At least call the police." "Jessica, if I call now, they'll take forever to show up. She needs me." Jessica didn't wait for more protests. She slipped into the night, slamming the door behind her. Minutes later, her car was carving through fog-choked streets, headlights slicing pale beams through the mist. Ashwood seemed emptier than usual, as though the whole town was holding its breath. Her knuckles whitened on the steering wheel, dread coiling tighter with each mile. When Jessica turned onto Black Hollow Road, Hannah's family house loomed into view. The Parker home had always unsettled her, a towering Victorian built in 1892, with spires that clawed at the sky and windows that seemed too dark, too hollow. Even in daylight, it looked wrong, like something that had survived centuries against its will. At night, shrouded in fog and shadow, it looked alive. The iron gate hung half open, groaning when she pushed it further. The porch light flickered, weakly, casting a sickly yellow glow. Jessica climbed the steps. Each board groaned under her weight. She knocked, her voice echoing across the silent yard. "Jessica, Hannah, it's me." No reply. She knocked again, harder. This time, the front door creaked open on its own, revealing the yawning mouth of the hallway beyond. Jessica froze. The smell inside was faint, but wrong, musty wood mixed with something metallic, almost like rust or blood. Her breath caught. She lifted her phone, turning on the flashlight. The narrow beam sliced through the dark, revealing peeling wallpaper, faded portraits whose painted eyes seemed to follow her, and a staircase winding into blackness. Jessica, softly, into the dark. Hannah. No answer. The house seemed to swallow her voice whole. Jessica stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind her. The silence was suffocating. She could hear only her own heartbeat, loud and frantic in her ears. Then, from somewhere above, came the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate. Someone was upstairs. Jessica's throat went dry. She whispered into the suffocating air. Jessica, Hannah, please tell me that's you. The footsteps stopped. A beat of silence, then from the second floor. Carried down the staircase in a hoarse, broken voice came a single word, voice distant, rasping. Jessica. Her blood turned to ice. Jessica's body stiffened at the sound of her name, carried down the stairs in that rasping, broken voice. It wasn't Hannah's voice. Not exactly. It was too strained, too distorted, like someone trying to force words through a throat that had forgotten how to speak. Her flashlight trembled in her hand as she aimed the beam toward the staircase. The top of the stairs disappeared into blackness, but she could feel something waiting there, just beyond the reach of light. Watching Jessica forced herself to breathe. Jessica whispering, Han, if this is some kind of joke, it's not funny. No answer. The silence thickened. The kind of silence that pressed against her ears until she thought she could hear the blood rushing in her veins. Then came a faint sound, like nails dragging along wood, slowly, methodically. Scraped pause, scraped pause, scraped. It was coming from upstairs. Jessica's instincts screamed at her to leave, to get in her car and drive until the house was nothing but a shadow in the distance. But the thought of Hannah possibly hurt, possibly trapped anchored her to the spot. She gritted her teeth, tightened her grip on the phone, and stepped deeper into the house. The floorboards groaned under her weight, loud in the silence. As she moved, her flashlight beam swept over the hallway, a series of closed doors, their brass handles tarnished with age. Dust hung thick in the air, swirling like ash whenever she passed. A family portrait hung crooked on the wall. Jessica slowed. When she reached it, it showed Hannah's parents, stern-faced, dressed in black formal wear. Hannah, maybe 7 or 8 years old, stood in front of them, her small hand clutching her father's. But something about the portrait made Jessica's skin crawl. The painted eyes of the family seemed sharper, almost real, and as Jessica moved her light, she could swear their gazes followed her. Her chest tightened. She forced herself to look away. From upstairs, the dragging sound stopped. Silence fell again. Jessica swallowed hard. Then, taking a shaky breath, she placed her foot on the first step of the staircase. The wood groaned. She froze, waiting for something to move in response, but the house remained still. Step by step, Jessica climbed. Each creak of the stairs echoed, like a gunshot in the hollow house. Halfway up, she paused. Her light had caught on something at the top of the stairs. A shape, small, pale, motionless. It was a hand. Jessica's stomach dropped. The hand was curled around the banister at the top of the stairs, limp, as if its owner had collapsed, just out of sight. Jessica choking on her words. Hannah. No reply. Her knees trembled as she forced herself higher, one step at a time. The beam of her flashlight locked on that pale hand. When she finally reached the landing, she swung the light forward. The hand was gone. Jessica gasped. The banister was bare, only coated in a thick layer of dust. No sign anyone had touched it for years. Her mind reeled. Had she imagined it? The upstairs hallway stretched before her, long and suffocating. Doors lined either side, some cracked open, others sealed tight. The air was colder here, the draft sharp enough to sting her skin. Suddenly, from the far end of the hall, a door slammed shut with a violent bang. Jessica yelped, nearly dropping her phone. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She aimed the flashlight toward the sound, the last door on the left. Its wooden frame shuddered as though something had just passed inside. Her legs carried her forward. Against her better judgment, she reached the door, heart pounding, and placed her hand on the knob. It was ice cold. With a trembling breath, she turned it. The door creaked open, revealing Hannah's bedroom. The beam of Jessica's flashlight cut across the familiar posters on the walls. The unmade bed, the desk cluttered with books and makeup. Everything was exactly as she remembered, except for one detail. The window was wide open. Curtains flapped violently in the cold night air. Jessica's stomach twisted. Hannah hated the cold. She never left her window open in October. She stepped inside, scanning the room. Jessica, softly. Hannah, are you in here? Her light passed across the closet. The door was slightly ajar. Jessica's breath hitched. She approached slowly, every instinct screaming at her to run. The closer she got, the more she noticed the faintest shuffle of movement from within. She raised her flashlight. With a trembling hand, she yanked the closet door open. The beam caught on Hannah. Her best friend was crouched inside, trembling, her face streaked with tears. She threw her arms up to shield her eyes from the sudden light. Hannah hoarse, whispering, "Close it. Close the door, don't let it see you." Jessica's heart plummeted. "Jessica, Hannah, what's going on?" But Hannah only shook her head violently, eyes wide with terror. She clutched Jessica's wrist, nails digging into her skin. Hannah whispering, urgent, "It's in the house." Jessica opened her mouth to ask what, but a sound cut her off. From the hallway footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate, coming closer. Jessica froze. Hannah's grip tightened, trembling violently. The footsteps stopped just outside the bedroom door. Then came a long, low breath, as if something on the other side was smelling the air. Jessica clapped a hand over her mouth to keep from screaming. Hannah's eyes locked on the door, her whole body quaking. The silence stretched for what felt like forever. Then, slowly, the footsteps began again, this time, moving away. Down the hall, Jessica released the breath she'd been holding. She turned back to Hannah, her whisper barely audible. "Jessica, what the hell is happening here?" Hannah's tear-streaked face twisted in anguish. Hannah shaking her head. "It doesn't want me to leave. It wants me to stay. It told me so." Jessica's blood ran cold. "Jessica, it told you." "Who?" "Hannah. Who told you?" Hannah's lips trembled when she spoke. The words came out as a broken whisper. "Hannah, the house." Jessica stared at Hannah, the words echoing in her skull like a curse. "The house." Her throat went dry. Jessica whispering, "Han, you're not making sense." Hannah pressed both palms to her temples, rocking back and forth in the closet. Her voice trembled, barely audible. "Hannah, I tried leaving twice. It wouldn't let me. The doors, Jess, they don't open anymore. The windows too. I even broke one with a lamp. But when I looked back, it was whole again, like nothing happened." Jessica shook her head, refusing to believe. "Jessica, that's not possible. You're in shock, okay? We'll get out together." A sudden groan of wood silenced her. The house, the walls themselves seemed to exhale, a long, hollow sound that pressed against her eardrums. The floor beneath her feet vibrated faintly, as though the entire structure had just shifted. Jessica's skin prickled with goosebumps. From somewhere deep inside the house came a low, guttural whisper, faint, fragmented, too soft to make out the words, but its cadence was unmistakable. It was speaking. Hannah's eyes widened with terror. She gripped Jessica's wrist so tightly the bones ached. Hannah hissing, "Don't listen. Don't answer it." Jessica's pulse thundered. "Jessica, answer what?" "Hannah, there's nothing here." Before she could finish, the bedroom light flickered violently, buzzing like a swarm of insects. Then it died, plunging the room into total blackness. Jessica's phone flashlight sputtered, dimming as though the battery were being drained by something unseen. A sound filled the room. Not footsteps this time. Not breathing, scratching, from the walls, from the ceiling, from everywhere at once. It was as though 1,000 claws were dragging along the inside of the house, trying to scrape their way out. Jessica clamped her hands over her ears, but the sound burrowed deeper, vibrating through her skull. Hannah curled tighter into herself, sobbing silently. Then amid the scratching came a new sound, whispering, multiple voices, overlapping, murmuring in jagged tones. Male, female, child, old, every pitch and register, blending into a chorus of the damned. The words were warped, foreign, yet Jessica felt them clawing at her mind, demanding to be understood. She squeezed her eyes shut, heart hammering. She wanted to run, but her body refused to move. Suddenly, the whispering stopped. Silence fell. Jessica opened her eyes. Her light sputtered back to life. Faint, but steady enough to reveal the room again. Everything was still, too still. She turned slowly, only to find that the posters on the walls had changed. Where Hannah's pop band posters had once been, there were now faded, sepia photographs. Grainy images of strangers in funeral attire, their faces half burned, half erased, yet their eyes sharp and lifelike. Staring directly at her, Jessica staggered back, her chest constricting. Jessica whispering, "No, no, that's not real." The photographs shivered. One of the figures blinked. Jessica's scream tore through the silence. She bolted for Hannah, dragging her out of the closet. "Jessica, urgent, we're leaving now." Hannah stumbled to her feet, eyes wild with panic. "Hannah, it won't let us, Jessica. I don't care." She grabbed Hannah's arm and sprinted toward the hallway. The door slammed shut in their faces with a deafening bang. Jessica rattled the knob, shoving her shoulder against the wood. It didn't budge. From the other side of the door came the sound of breathing, slow, wet, like lungs struggling through water. Jessica backed away, pulling Hannah with her. The window, maybe that was their only chance. She dragged Hannah across the room and grabbed the heavy chair from the desk. With every ounce of strength, she hurled it at the open window. The glass shattered into 1,000 shards and then reformed instantly, flawless and unbroken, as if time itself had rewound. Jessica's jaw dropped. "Jessica, oh my God." Hannah clutched her, whispering rapidly like a prayer. "Hannah, I told you, it won't let us go. It feeds when we're scared. Don't you get it? That's why it called you here. It wants you to." Jessica's mind spun, adrenaline crashing through her veins. Jessica, desperate. "Then what do we do?" Hannah's tear-streaked face twisted into something darker, haunted. She leaned closer, her whisper cold against Jessica's ear. "Hannah, we wait until it decides which one of us it wants first." At that moment, the lights flickered back on, revealing the room exactly as it had been before. Posters, furniture, window, all normal. But Jessica knew better. The house was watching, and it was hungry. Jessica's chest heaved as she pressed her back against Hannah's. Both of them stood frozen in the center of the bedroom, the silence stretching, suffocating. The house was calm again. Too calm. Jessica licked her lips, voice trembling. "Jessica, we can't stay here. We need to get downstairs. We need the front door." Hannah's eyes darted around, wide and wild. "Hannah, Jess, it's not going to let us. Don't you understand? It likes when we run." Jessica gripped her arm. "Jessica, I don't care. Standing here makes us sitting ducks." She pulled Hannah toward the door. This time, when Jessica twisted the knob, it clicked easily, swinging open with no resistance. The hallway stretched before them, bathed in shadow. They stepped out together, Jessica's phone casting its narrow beam of light. The house groaned, as if displeased. The air grew heavier with each step, thick and stale, smelling faintly of rot. Jessica forced her legs forward, dragging Hannah with her, toward the staircase at the far end. But something was wrong. The staircase was farther than it should have been, much farther. No matter how quickly Jessica walked, the end of the hall kept pulling away, stretching like elastic. Doors on either side multiplied, crowding closer, their handles rattling as if unseen hands were desperate to burst free. Hannah clutched Jessica's sleeve, sobbing, "Hannah, stop, Jess, stop, we're not getting anywhere." Jessica froze, heart pounding. She looked behind them. The bedroom door was gone. In its place, more hallway, identical, endless. Jessica's stomach churned. Her throat went dry. "Jessica, no, 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 this isn't real. This isn't." Suddenly, every door along the hall slammed open at once. The sound cracked like thunder, and a blast of cold air roared through, extinguishing Jessica's light for a split second. When the beam flickered back, she staggered. The open doorways no longer led to bedrooms, or bathrooms, or closets. They opened into other places, dark forests under blood-red skies, rotting cellars dripping with stagnant water, corridors of hospitals lit by flickering fluorescent bulbs, their gurneys overturned, walls streaked with dried handprints. Each door revealed a different nightmare, alive with faint movement, just out of sight. Figures shifting in the shadows, faces pressed against glass. Jessica's breath came in sharp gasps. She pulled Hannah close, trying not to look, trying not to acknowledge the impossible tableau surrounding them. But one doorway caught her eye. A kitchen, familiar, her kitchen. Jessica's knees nearly buckled. She saw her own refrigerator, her own countertops, even the crooked magnet shaped like a pumpkin she'd bought at a farmer's market years ago. The overhead light hummed, warm and yellow, so ordinary it hurt. Jessica whispering, That's my house," as if sensing her recognition. Something moved inside the kitchen. Her doppelganger, Jessica's exact double, stood at the counter, back turned, chopping something slowly, rhythmically. The knife rose and fell, rose and fell. Jessica's voice shook. "Jessica, what the hell?" The double turned its head, just slightly, not enough to reveal its face, but enough to let her know it was smiling. Then, it raised the knife high, and slammed it down with violent force. Jessica ripped her gaze away, choking back a scream. She shoved Hannah forward. "Jessica, urgent, don't look. Don't look at them, just move." They stumbled down the corridor, ignoring the horrors spilling from every door. Hannah wept silently, her breaths shallow and ragged. At last, the staircase appeared ahead, closer this time, as if the house had grown bored of its game. Jessica didn't hesitate. She yanked Hannah toward it, nearly dragging her down the steps, but as their feet struck the stairs, the house convulsed. The entire structure shook violently, dust raining from the ceiling, frames falling from the walls. The staircase twisted under their weight, the steps warping, bending sideways until it felt like they were climbing down a spiral slide rather than stairs. Jessica lost her footing, tumbling forward. Hannah screamed as they both pitched into the darkness below. They hit the floor hard, the impact knocking the wind from Jessica's lungs. She coughed, clutching her ribs, and raised her light. The front door loomed just a few feet away. Relief surged through her chest. Jessica breathless. There, Hannah, the door. But Hannah wasn't looking at the door. Her face had gone pale, her lips trembling. Jessica turned back. The door was breathing. Its wooden surface expanded and contracted, slowly, like lungs. Each exhale rattled the hinges, and with every inhale, the entire entryway seemed to draw closer, as though the house were sucking them in. Jessica froze, heart hammering. Then the door whispered, a single word, "Stay." The voice was layered, hundreds of voices speaking in unison, rattling through the walls, the floor, the very marrow of their bones. Hannah collapsed to her knees, sobbing hysterically. Jessica staggered back, clutching her light, her mind screaming to run, but her body, paralyzed by terror. The house didn't just want them trapped, it wanted them consumed. The whisper of the door still echoed in Jessica's ears as she dragged Hannah back from the threshold. Her phone light quivered in her hand, casting shaky beams across the warped entryway. "Jessica, hoarse, we can't use the front door. We need another way out." Hannah's shoulders shook with sobs. She clutched her arms tight against her body, rocking like a child. "Hannah, broken. There isn't another way." I told you, Jessica snapped, fear sharpening her voice. "Jessica, stop saying that. Stop giving up." The house groaned in response, as though it relished her anger. Somewhere above them, a door slammed, then another, then another. A cascade of violent bangs rolled through the house, shaking dust from the rafters. Jessica's skin crawled. Every instinct screamed that they were running out of time. She grabbed Hannah's wrist. "Jessica, the kitchen. Maybe there's a back door." They stumbled through the hallway, Jessica forcing her legs forward, despite the heaviness in the air. The kitchen door loomed ahead, warped and uneven in the flickering light. She pushed it open. The kitchen looked normal at first. Familiar wooden cabinets, a chipped tile counter, a half-empty water glass by the sink. But then Jessica noticed the details. Every cabinet door was slightly ajar. The refrigerator hummed, louder than it should, and the smell ran and rot, mingling with something sweet, like spoiled fruit. Hannah refused to step inside. She dug her heels into the floor, Hannah shaking her head. No, not here." Jessica frowned. "Jessica, what's wrong?" Hannah's eyes were wide, glassy. Hannah whispering, "It started here." Jessica's pulse spiked. "Jessica, what do you mean it started here?" Hannah didn't answer. Instead, the overhead light flickered, buzzing. Then it cut out, plunging them into pitch black dot. Jessica raised her phone light, sweeping it across the room. The cabinets had all closed, and sitting at the table was Hannah Dot, another Hannah Dot, her hair matted, her eyes bloodshot, her lips split and raw. She sat perfectly still, hands folded neatly in front of her, staring at Jessica with a faint, eerie smile. Jessica staggered back, crashing into the real Hannah, who screamed in horror at the sight of her own double dot. Jessica shaking. "What the hell?" The second Hannah tilted her head, the smile widening. When she spoke, her voice was Hannah's, but layered, distorted, dripping with venom. "Second Hannah, she's lying to you, Jessica. She didn't find this house. She brought you here." Jessica's breath hitched. "Jessica, no, that's not true." The second Hannah's smile never faltered. "Second Hannah, she called you. She wanted you trapped. She isn't your sister anymore. She belongs to the house." The real Hannah screamed, clutching Jessica's arm. "Hannah, don't. Listen, it's trying to trick you." Jessica's heart hammered violently. She looked between the two, Hannah's one sobbing, shaking with terror, the other calm, smiling. "Certain. Second Hannah, softly. You feel it, don't you? She's changed. She's not the Hannah you knew. She's been feeding it, keeping it alive. She let Mom and Dad die here." Jessica froze, Jessica shaking her head. "No, that can't be true." The real Hannah's scream ripped through the air, Hannah sobbing. "Jess, please, it's lying. Don't leave me." The phone light flickered, sputtered. For a moment, both Hannahs merged into darkness, their shapes blending, indistinguishable. Jessica's grip on reality slipped. Her chest tightened until she thought her ribs would crack. Then, in the darkness, she felt a hand clutch hers, soft, warm, familiar. A voice whispered in her ear, Hannah's voice. "I'll never let you out." Jessica shrieked, yanking her hand back. The light flared to life, again reeling that she stood alone in the kitchen. Both Hannahs were gone. Jessica's scream died in her throat. Her sister was missing. The only sound left was the steady hum of the refrigerator and a faint whisper rising from the sink drain. It spoke her name, Jessica. Jessica stood frozen in the kitchen. The glow of her phone, the only fragile anchor against the crushing dark. Hannah was gone. The whisper from the drain slithered through the silence, voice hissing Jessica. Jessica stumbled back, bile rising in her throat. She clutched her phone like a weapon, scanning the room in jerky sweeps. Jessica to herself, shaking. It's not real. It's not real. It's not. The refrigerator door creaked open. Jessica snapped the light toward it. Inside wasn't shelves or food. It was a tunnel, a black, narrow passage that seemed to stretch down into the earth. Wet stone walls glistened, and faintly, from far below, came the sound of breathing, slow, deep, ancient. Jessica's knees buckled. She stumbled back against the counter, her phone slipping in her sweaty grip. From behind her, a sound answered, scraping. She spun, the light flashing over the far kitchen wall. The wallpaper there bulged and shifted, as if something massive pressed against it from the other side. The plaster cracked. Dust sifted down. Jessica's breath caught as she whispered, "Jessica, oh my God." A hand burst through the wall. Not a human hand. Its fingers were too long, joints bending backward. The skin pale and waxy, slick with something that shone under the light. The nails were ragged, broken, clicking against the tile like insect legs. Jessica screamed, scrambling toward the door. The wall split wider with a groan, revealing an arm, then a shoulder, then something dragging itself out of the house's flesh. Its face was wrong, impossibly wrong, like melted wax trying to mimic human features. Two sockets stared at her, empty but somehow watching it crawled, joints cracking as it pulled itself across the floor, leaving wet streaks in its wake. Jessica fumbled for the kitchen door, but when she wrenched it open, she didn't find the hallway. She found the basement stairs. The air that rose up from below reeked of damp, earth, and rot. Jessica shook her head violently. Jessica to herself, "No, no, I'm not going down there." But the creature behind her shrieked, a sound like glass shattering inside her skull. Jessica clutched her ears, staggering forward without thinking. Her feet hit the first step, then the second. She tried to stop herself, but the house pulled. Her light caught glimpses as she descended, rusted pipes, dripping thick black liquid, walls sweating with condensation, handprints smeared in something dark along the stairwell. The shrieking faded. Silence pressed in again, heavier now, thicker, like the air itself was congealing. Jessica reached the bottom step. Her phone flickered, then died. Total darkness. Her breath came in shallow bursts. She stretched her arms in front of her, feeling her way through the void. The basement was cold, the air damp and heavy in her lungs. Then dash movement, soft, deliberate, circling her. Jessica's pulse thundered in her ears. She spun wildly, trying to track it, but it was everywhere at once, breathing, dragging, clicking, whispering. Suddenly, a faint light bloomed in the corner of the basement. Jessica squinted. Her heart lurched. It was Hannah. She stood perfectly still, illuminated by some unseen source, her white nightgown stained with dirt. Her face was pale, her eyes unfocused. Jessica relieved, sobbing, "Hannah, oh God." She rushed forward, but as she neared, Hannah lifted her head. Her eyes were gone. Twin pits of darkness stretched where they should have been, oozing down her cheeks. Her mouth opened wide to widen from it, spilled a voice that wasn't hers. A chorus. Hundreds of voices layered together, echoing from the walls, the floor, the ceiling, the house. Through Hannah, "You are already inside me, and you will never leave." Jessica's scream tore through the dark as the basement walls began to close in, shifting, bending, pressing closer. The house wasn't just keeping her prisoner, it was swallowing her whole. Jessica's scream echoed as the walls pulsed inward, the basement alive with a crushing hunger. She clawed backward, stumbling into a damp stone pillar slick with something warm. The lightless pit where Hannah had stood was now empty. Only the smell of rot lingered. Jessica's chest heaved, Her throat burned from screaming. She pressed her back against the pillar, desperate to ground herself, and then she felt its grooves, carved into the stone. She raised her trembling hands, tracing the shallow marks with her fingers. Letters, words. She squinted in the dark, mouthing them as her hands traveled across the carvings. It feeds, it lies. Don't listen. Her stomach dropped. The writing was jagged, frantic, as if clawed into the stone by someone in their last moments. She shifted her hand lower and found another message. There were more of us. We are still here. Jessica jerked her hand back, bile rising. A noise rattled from the far side of the basement. A shuffle, then another, like footsteps dragging through waterlogged earth. Her breath caught. The darkness moved. Shapes began to form in the shadows, one by one, pulling themselves out of the walls and floor. Pale outlines of people, men, women, even children, faces hollow, bodies broken in unnatural ways. Their eyes glowed faintly, not with light, but with emptiness, black and bottomless. Jessica pressed herself tighter to the pillar, Jessica whispering, "No, no, no." The first figure stepped closer, its jaw hanging loose. When it opened its mouth, the voice that came out wasn't its own. Figure in chorus. We screamed. No one heard. We begged. No one came. Another voice, from a boy with no arms, his head tilted at a broken angle. Boy, the house kept us. The house ate us. Jessica shook her head violently, clutching her temples. Jessica, you're not real? You're not a woman. Staggered forward, her face split with a smile carved too wide. Her voice was low, guttural. Woman, we were, and you will be. The figures circled closer, their whispers rising into a cacophony. Some sobbed, some laughed, some screamed words Jessica couldn't understand. She dropped to her knees, covering her ears, rocking back and forth, Jessica screaming, "Stop." For a moment, silence. Then something pressed into her hand. She froze. Slowly, she opened her eyes. In her palm was a rusted key, heavy and ice cold. The pale boy stood before her, his black eyes boring into hers. His voice was barely a whisper, but it was clear. Boy, the house has a heart. You can kill it, but it kills back. Jessica's breath hitched. She looked at the key, her pulse pounding. Jessica whispering, "Where?" The boy tilted his head, and his mouth tore into a jagged grin. "Boy, below." Suddenly, the walls shuddered. The figures collapsed into dust, their screams pulled back into the stone. Jessica was alone again. The basement shifted. A section of the floor cracked, groaned, and slid open like a yawning mouth. A narrow set of stone steps descended deeper into blackness, so complete it seemed alive. The key throbbed in her palm, pulsing with cold. Jessica stared into the abyss, her whole body trembling. For the first time since stepping foot inside the house, she realized she might not just be trying to escape. She might have to fight it, and she would have to go deeper. The cracked floor yawned wide, the stone steps spiraling down into blackness. Jessica gripped the rusted key so tight, her knuckles burned. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but the whisper of the boy's words clung to her. The house has a heart. You can kill it, but it kills back. She descended. The air grew heavier with each step, damp, metallic, like breathing inside a tomb. The walls sweated, dark streaks running in rivulets. Her shoes slipped on the slick stone, and several times she nearly fell into the abyss. At last, her foot struck soft ground. She lifted her phone, but the screen remained dead, lifeless. Only the faintest glow leaked from cracks in the walls, a sickly, pulsing red dot. Jessica froze. The walls weren't stone anymore. They were flesh. Veins throbbed across the surface, pumping sluggishly, glistening wet. The floor pulsed beneath her shoes, soft and spongy, as though she were standing inside a living body. The air stank of copper and rot. Jessica whispering, "Oh God, oh my God." A low rhythmic sound rumbled around her. Thump, thump, thump. She turned toward it. At the far end of the chamber, embedded into the wall, hung something enormous. A mass of twisting veins, slick tissue, and bone-like ridges. At its center, swelling and contracting, was a heart. It beat slow and deliberate, shaking the ground beneath her. Thump, thump, thump. Each pulse echoed through her chest, syncing with her own heartbeat until she felt her ribs might crack. Jessica staggered closer, clutching the key like a dagger. Then the whispers started. They seeped from the walls, the floor, the veins themselves. Voices layered over each other, pleading, mocking, shrieking, voices overlapping. Stab it, free us. It will eat. You are ours. Do it, do it. Jessica pressed her hands to her ears, shaking violently. Jessica screaming, shut up, shut up. The heart pulsed harder, faster. The floor rippled beneath her feet. A geyser of dark fluid burst from a nearby vein, splattering her clothes, stinking of blood and decay. She stumbled forward, gagging, and fell to her knees before the heart. The rusted key in her hand burned ice cold now, vibrating with every thump. It wasn't just a key, it was a weapon. Her reflection shimmered across the wet surface of the heart, but it wasn't hers. It was Hannah's. Jessica's breath hitched. Her sister's face stared back at her, pale eyes hollow, mouth trembling. Hannah. From the heart. Please, Jess, don't hurt me. Jessica's stomach flipped. Tears stung her eyes. Jessica, Hannah. The voice cracked. Small, fragile. Hannah, it's me. You'll kill me too. Don't. Jessica raised the key high, her hands shaking uncontrollably. The whispers screamed. Some begged her to stop. Some urged her on. Some laughed. Her pulse thundered. Her vision swam. Jessica sobbing. I don't know what's real anymore. The heart convulsed, veins tightening like fists around the chamber. Bones jutted from the walls, closing in like teeth. From behind her, footsteps approached. Jessica spun. There, at the base of the stairs, stood Hannah. Her nightgown was torn, her face streaked with dirt and tears. Her eyes normal, human. Hannah, panting, desperate. Jess, stop. Don't touch it. That's what it wants. Jessica froze, her arm trembling mid-swing. Behind her, the heart throbbed violently. The image of Hannah inside it twisted, screaming, her mouth stretching too wide, voice distorting into a chorus. The house through the heart. She is mine. She has always been mine. Jessica's breath shattered in her chest. She looked from the Hannah behind her sobbing, human to the Hannah inside the heart screaming monstrous. One of them was real, one of them was a lie, but which? The key in her hand burned hotter, urging her to choose. The walls shuddered, the ceiling cracked. The chamber was collapsing. Jessica had only seconds to decide. The chamber shook, walls rippling like muscle, veins bulged, pulsing, ready to burst. Jessica stood frozen, the rusted key trembling in her grip. Sweat and blood stung her eyes as she looked back and forth. The Hannah behind her, gasping, reaching out with trembling hands. The Hannah in the heart, screaming, face contorting in agony. Her lungs burned. She couldn't breathe. Jessica, screaming, which one are you? The Hannah behind her stumbled closer. Hannah pleading, it's me, Jess. Please don't let it trick you. If you stab it, it wins. That's what it's been waiting for. The Hannah inside the heart wailed, eyes wide with terror. Hannah from the heart, no, Jess, don't listen. Kill it. Free me. Jessica's pulse slammed in her ears. Her knees buckled. The whispers in the walls rose to a deafening roar. Voices overlapping, shrieking. Kill it. Don't kill it. Choose. She's already gone. She's waiting for you. Jessica dropped to her knees, clutching her head. The keys searing into her palm. Jessica sobbing. I can't. The heart convulsed, sending shockwaves through the chamber. bones jutted from the ceiling, nearly impaling her. The Hannah behind her screamed, "Hannah, Jess, look at me. When Dad died, what did you tell me in the hospital?" Jessica's eyes widened. Her chest heaved. "Jessica, I told you." Her voice broke. The memory came rushing back. Sitting in a sterile hospital room, Hannah's hands shaking in hers. She had whispered, "I'll never leave you, no matter what." Jessica's gaze locked onto the Hannah in front of her. Tears streamed down her sister's dirt-streaked cheeks. The Hannah in the heart twisted, its face stretching grotesquely, smile splitting unnaturally wide. The house through the heart. Liar. She is mine. Jessica's terror snapped into fury. Her scream ripped from her chest as she lunged forward. Key raised high, but not at her sister. At the heart. The key plunged deep into its slick surface. The chamber exploded with sound, hundreds of voices shrieking at once, rattling her bones. The heart convulsed violently, spraying black fluid in every direction. The ground buckled. Jessica clung to the embedded key, driving it deeper, screaming with every ounce of rage and fear inside her. Jessica screaming, "Let her go." The heart ruptured. Darkness howled. The chamber walls peeled back, revealing faces trapped in the fleshes wide, mouths frozen mid-scream. They dissolved into ash as the house's screams shook the earth. The Hannah behind her cried out, collapsing to the ground. The Hannah in the heart split open like paper, revealing nothing but a hollow void that shrank inward until it was gone. The entire basement was caving in. Veins snapped, walls collapsed. Fire and smoke surged from the cracks. Jessica staggered back, grabbing Hannah, hauling her to her feet. Jessica panting, desperate. "Run. We have to run." They stumbled toward the stone stairs as the chamber collapsed behind them. The heart's final scream thundered through the house, shaking every beam, every wall. By the time they reached the basement door, the house was already crumbling, floorboards splitting open, windows shattering. Jessica shoved Hannah up the stairs, her own legs screaming with exhaustion. Hannah weakly, "It's not over. It won't let us go." Jessica looked back. The shadows were rising, writhing up the stairs like living smoke, chasing them. Her grip tightened on Hannah's hand. Jessica threw clenched teeth. "Then we make it over." They burst into the living room just as the ceiling split open, raining plaster and shards of wood. The front door loomed ahead wide, gaping, impossibly far. Behind them, the darkness screamed. They ran. The living room roared as the house convulsed. Furniture hurled itself against the walls, portraits ripped from nails, curtains twisting like nooses in the air. Jessica dragged Hannah, lungs on fire, her ears ringing with the deafening shriek of the collapsing house. The front door was in sight, but the floor between them and the exit splintered, opening into a black chasm. Shapes writhed in the abyss arms, faces, whispers hissing. "Don't leave. Stay forever. We are family." Jessica's grip on Hannah's hand nearly slipped as the floorboards tilted. She braced herself, then sprinted. Dragging her sister with her, they leaped. For a suspended heartbeat, Jessica thought they would fall straight into the screaming void, but her foot landed on solid wood. They crashed forward, slamming into the door with all their weight. It didn't open. Jessica clawed at the handle, shrieking. Jessica screaming, "Come on, open." The door throbbed beneath her hands. Veins spread across its surface like cracks. The house wasn't letting them go. Behind her, the shadows surged up the staircase, filling the living room, pouring toward them like a tidal wave of ink. Hannah fell to her knees, sobbing. "Hannah, it's too strong, we're trapped." Jessica's gaze darted around wildly. Her eyes locked on the rusted key, still clutched in her palm, slick with blood. She raised it high and drove it into the lock. The key twisted on its own, grinding, screaming as metal scraped bone. The door convulsed, then exploded outward in a blast of white light. Jessica and Hannah were thrown into the night. They tumbled down the steps of the porch, rolling into the wet grass. The cold air hit Jessica's lungs like knives. Behind them, the hollow house screamed, its windows shattered, outward, in unison. The roof caved in. Walls collapsed, folding inward as if being devoured by an invisible maw. A final wail split the night sky, half human, half inhuman, before the house imploded, vanishing into nothing but a crater of smoldering ash. Silence. Jessica lay on her back, gasping, the stars above her swimming through tears. Hannah clutched her arm, sobbing into her shoulder. They had survived, or so it seemed. Hours later, the sisters sat wrapped in emergency blankets at the edge of the road, paramedics bustling around them. Red and blue lights from police cruisers painted the trees. Reporters shouted questions from behind yellow tape. Jessica's ears rang. Every voice sounded far away, like echoes underwater. She stared at the blackened crater where the house had stood. Smoke still curled from the earth. Nothing remained. Nothing, except the key. It lay in the dirt at her feet, blackened but intact. Jessica's hand trembled as she picked it up. It pulsed once, faint, like a dying heartbeat. Her breath caught in her throat. Jessica whispering, "No." Hannah touched her arm. "Hannah, Jess, what's wrong?" Jessica quickly closed her fist around the key. She forced a smile, shaking her head. "Jessica, nothing. It's over." But her eyes betrayed her, because as she turned back toward the ash-filled crater, she thought she saw movement, a shape, a figure, standing in the smoke, watching her. And when the wind shifted, carrying with it the faintest whisper, Jessica felt her blood freeze. Whisper from the ash, "You'll never leave me." Jessica squeezed her sister's hand tighter, forcing herself to look away. But deep down, she knew the truth. The hollow house wasn't gone. It was inside her now,